like um for the good side, probably because I don't like to lose. So yeah, and for the bad side is because well, when you're negotiating, like you need to know what the other party wants and what you also want or need, and you need to collect like data, information, and stuff like that. And some of the negotiation, like the agreement, might not be profiting for you, and it can be frustrated sometimes. Like
Mhm.
yeah, and then um sometimes also like because you need to come up with strategies and action, and like for them not to like you have a bottom line on how low your offer can be, and
Oh,
sometimes it's just that like they gonna like keep on attacking you, and then you have to defend your fortress, something like that. So it can be very frustrating, and yeah, might get to
especially
you.
especially if you have to change your bottom line.
Yeah, and for example, if you are working for a company and you're like a negotiator, you have to like defend that bottom line, but then like they keep on like the other party that you are negotiating with, they keep on like pressing you down, and it can be very stressful.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's probably that.
That in professionally. How about more personally when you're negotiating with your friends and your family about, or
Well, like as what Alex said earlier, like you can be more lenient, I guess, towards like depending on the relationship, like how to, like for example, if it's for my family, I will never lose with it in a debate.
you'll never lose a debate?
Yeah,
You
even
always
though
win your
some
debates.
kind of, even though sometimes I know I'm in the wrong side, but then like I don't want to lose, so keep on coming up with the nonsense excuses.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have a brother.
Who is older?
Him.
Him. So
Yeah, but
when you're negotiating with your older brother, who wins?
me
Ah,
always.
always. Okay. Well, he must really like his little sister.
I don't know, probably. It's me.
What is the difference in your ages? How many years?
Just couple years.
A couple of years, so you're pretty close. Okay, good. I know sometimes that can make a difference. Someone said earlier, who was it? When you're negotiating with somebody older than you or a different generation, a parent, a grandparent, your own children, for any of you that might have children, or your own. None of you have grandchildren, but I do, and my grandchildren always win the negotiation when they're negotiating with me. I always lose
Oh,
because
yeah.
because they're too smart and they're too cute.
Okay, so next time, maybe during negotiation, I will need to act more cute.
Well, no, hey, you keep winning, and that's fine. That's fine. Okay, thanks, Nadia.
No problem.
Who's going to go next?
Hello. Hi, sir.
Sajiv.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Things probably a little easier on me than it is for a lot of you, so I appreciate you being here and appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. I'd like to say that I will be an okay negotiator because negotiation, I think, it's a skill that I don't think everyone possesses because it's a hard thing to negotiate and persuade someone. So I can say that I am an okay persuader or an okay negotiator. Like if the tasks that are given to me are simpler, maybe I can do it. But a complex task of persuading someone, I think it's very hard for me because of my character and my type. I think it's very hard for me to persuade someone who has a harder texture of characteristics.
You said because of your character.
Yeah, like I don't think I can hold on a lot to people who talks too much or who gives a lot of replies that makes our mind go mad. So I
Make your
just,
mind go mad.
yeah, I just opt to, get back. Okay, well, let him have what he has. So I'm that kind of a person. So I don't pursue it much with people like that.
Does it matter whether it's in business or whether it's in your personal life?
Uh, Business, I think it's different, sir. I think business, we have to do what we have to do. So I think there's a line that we can't cross. So I think it's different in personal and business. I think in personal, I can take charge. I don't have to ask anyone. Like I don't have other authorities telling me what to do. So I think I can take charge in my personal life. But I don't think I can charge myself in a business environment. It's a
Ah,
totally different.
okay. Yeah. Thanks, Ajit.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Doug. This is Amal.
Hi, Amal. Amal.
Yeah, for me also, it's like more depends upon the person who I'm talking with. And
Ah,
if some difficult situations come, it's pretty hard for me to make him like come to my side. So it's more of a kind of like what Christina told, like it depends upon the person and how they talk to me and how they approach to the difficult situation which I'm also dealing with, like that.
okay.
Yeah.
And does it make it? So does it make a difference whether it's sort of in a business
Yeah,
environment or a personal or a family environment?
yeah, it's like if in the family also, like some people are having more skills than me, like compared to my family also, some people are there. So it's pretty hard to like change their mind and come to my side. So it depends upon the
What kind
person how they think.
of
Yeah,
so what kind of skills do you think some people have that you don't?
it's like the problem solving skills and the assertiveness, the rapport building, like that.
Brains.
Rapport building, okay,
Yeah,
and problem solving. Those are certainly
yeah,
two very important skills for sure.
yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Amal.
Thank you.
Hi, Doug.
Okay, Joel.
Thanks. Yeah, even I have the same opinion as Christina and Amal had because I feel that
About yourself?
yeah, I have the same opinion as them. It's
About
like
yourself.
yeah, because I think that like it's typically a skill that most people in the sales field require in negotiation because it's like you need a lot of patience for talking each other about the subject matter and all. While bargaining also you have to have a lot of patience and all stuff because it depends upon for me it depends upon the mood because you have to build a good rapport with them while talking you have to create a good impression so it depends upon the mood and also I have that attitude I always jump like while bargaining I'll jump into the final price without negotiating there's always a problem like me so yeah I think that I'm not a good negotiator in that way.
Because you jumped to the final price.
Yeah, there's no. I don't try to build a buffer or something. It just directly. Yeah, that's his final price. Just give me. Yeah, that's what
Ah,
I go.
so you want to get very quickly to
Yeah,
tell them what it is you want.
yeah.
And what happens if they do it before you?
It. I don't know. It's like it's actually a skill. That's what. It's like a skill. You have to have some sort of. You have to maintain a rapport and all. It's that form of channel that how it has to go. That's what I feel.
I couldn't quite understand what you said. What say it again?
I like it's like we have to maintain some sort of relation because we have to continue this business in the business terms. I'm saying this business.
Ah,
So we have to maintain that in a proper way. So it'll continue further. That's what I feel.
very, very important. That's a very important thing. I think I heard you say you have to maintain the relationship,
Yeah.
right? And that's really critical. And we'll learn a lot about that because
Yeah.
that's really what negotiating is all about. It's all about the relationship.
Oh,
So you have relationships with your your classmates here in the class. You have relationships with your family, your employers, your landlord, you know, your friends down the street. Those are all relationships, and maybe the relationship is what dictates how you negotiate, or maybe how you negotiate dictates the relationship.
Yeah.
One way
Vice
or
versa.
the other,
Yeah.
or both.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think what we'll take, the most important thing you'll take away from this course maybe is exactly that. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's the relationship and the negotiation, and the negotiation changes the relationship changes the negotiation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thanks, Joel. Well, one thing that people remind me, if you have any questions, you can put them on the chat, and also, I think there's a way you can kind of raise your hand. Isn't there a hand raising thing on the screen? I mean, you can put up your own hand, and that's good. But there's anyway. So if you ever have any questions, you can put them on the chat, and they can be private, or they can be like to me privately, or they can be to everyone. So okay, Mukesh, I saw your hand go up. Would you like to go now?
No,
Oh, shall we negotiate about that? Are you really on an airplane?
yeah, jet lag.
Sorry?
Yeah, I am on my plane.
You're on your plane?
Yeah, I'm going back to India.
Oh, so you really are on a plane.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to believe that, am I?
I'm really on a plane. See the weather outside.
Oh, okay. The clouds are not moving.
Like it's screensaver.
Aha. Okay. So you can go last, Mukesh.
Yeah.
Who would like to go next?
Hi, sir. I think I will go next.
Okay, Lynn?
Yes. I think that I'm not a really good negotiator because I believe that everyone has a point and I respect them. So I just like listening to their points and like put me in their shoes and like accept their points of view. And but for some occasions that I want to fight for my benefits, that then I will like go on to the final thing to win the argument.
Okay.
So yeah.
So
So
yeah, so you said that you didn't think you were a very good negotiator because you have respect for people and you like to
for
listen to
people
their
points
of
of view.
and listen to
Yeah.
their point of view.
Yeah.
And why? Tell me a little bit more about why you think that doesn't make you a good negotiator because you respect other people's point of view.
Because I think it's easy for me to like persuasive into their view. So I think they have a good point. So it's like it's easy for me to be negotiated by them.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that can be a good thing.
And I think that's quite like not really good because like you don't have your own point and you fight for it.
Right.
But I think like
Yeah.
after this course, I will like be like much better at like negotiate.
Okay. Well, hopefully you will learn some things. about negotiating.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we all tend to think of. I mean, most of our answers are, I don't. I'm. I don't think I'm a very good negotiator because I don't get my way as often as I would like to. I tend to get the other, and that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Again, it's all about the relationship, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, but the skills of listening, and I think, Lynn, what you said about respect and listening to other people's point of view is extremely important. It's very, very important. And so I think that's a very key negotiating skill. Regardless of the outcome, we tend to confuse the outcome with the process. And it's the process that it influences the relationship. So sometimes you might get what you hope to get, and sometimes you won't. But that might be very good in the relationship that you have with that particular person. So yeah. Thank you. Very, very good comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Hello, sir. I will go next.
Ratan?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I want to tell that I am a good negotiator with the person whom I know well.
Ah,
Yeah, like my family or my friends, because I can understand what they like, what they dislike, what they want, and what they need. So I can be very persuasive with them.
okay.
And I can be good negotiator with them. But I'm not a good negotiator with person who I don't know. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Why?
Because negotiation is the process in which we have to persuade the person. But if I don't know what they want, then how I can be persuasive?
So what do you have to understand what you're negotiating about.
Yeah,
So if you don't know the person, how do you know when you are negotiating? How can you tell? If it's a person you don't know, why do you negotiate?
because like there are some times when we have to negotiate, like if the price is very high, or if we I don't know.
Well, no, you said it exactly right. So you said if the price is very high,
Yeah.
so the other person set the price.
Yes.
So now you know what they want.
Yes.
Ah, so we always know what the other person wants, right? We know
Yes.
something. Yeah. So you say but you find it difficult to negotiate with somebody that you don't know.
Yeah.
But all you know about them is what they want.
Yes.
Okay. But you said it very well. And negotiation is a process. And yeah, we have sometimes it may seem very obvious and not even worth mentioning. Well, we always know what the other person wants, but that's not true. Not always. Sometimes we really don't know what they want. They might say what they want, but that isn't really what they want. They might want something else, but they're asking for one thing, but we know that isn't really what they want. They're looking for something else.
Yes.
It's a game. Thank Ratan.
Thank you.
Hi, Doug.
Roy.
Yeah, I think it really depends upon the people. So the people with more verbal communication skills can pursue it more easily. So
Could
I
you say
think
that
it's
again, Roy? I couldn't hear you.
yeah, I think it more depends upon people. So the people with more verbal communication skills can easily pursue more.
Verbal
So
communication skills. Okay.
yeah, so I think I'm not that really good at persuading people and convincing them. So the people who have better skills can uh, be a better negotiator than me. So if in a subject which I knows better than them, or is a subject which I knows more, uh, I can pursue them like I have a good offer or something. Uh, in like in that subject matter, I can convince them. Otherwise, I think it's hard for me to convince people.
Does it matter what language you're speaking?
I think it matters because you have to pursue them. So the language matters.
So we're speaking English now, but if we weren't speaking English, would it matter if you were speaking a different language?
Yeah, I think it will be the same because the language, I don't know actually.
Well, what is your home language?
It's Malayalam. It's from Kerala.
Okay. So if you're speaking with somebody else who's speaking that language, is it easier for you to negotiate in your own language than it is maybe in English or something else?
Yeah, it will be much easier in my own language
Okay.
because it will be easier to raise good points and to make my points like it's better and clear. So that will be easier.
Well, Roy, thank you for bringing that up because that's a very important topic because we are negotiating all over the world now, right? And we're dealing with people all over the world. And, you know, I only speak, well, one other language maybe, and that's French, and that's not very good. So English is essentially my only language. So I have negotiated in several different places around the world, including China. And people have always spoken English. They've had to speak English to me or work through an interpreter. And so I've worked with different languages, and I can see that can be a difficulty. If two people, if you're both speaking, you know, your comfortable language, your native language, that's one thing. Or if you're both speaking like we are now, uh, this is my home language, but English isn't your first language. You're very good at it, but it's not your first language, and that makes a difference. It makes a big difference in the negotiation, and I think that we need to be sensitive to that. And I don't know how many different home languages we have in this class, but probably I would guess at least 10 different home languages, and probably even more than that. And yet here we are all speaking English. Thank you very much, because it's the only one that I know. So I think, Roy, you have brought up a very good point. And it's not a weakness. It's not a weakness that you find you don't have good verbal communication skills. By that, you might mean you don't speak English the same way as somebody else, or you don't think you speak English as well as they do, or you don't think you can express yourself. Um, and that does affect negotiation, but it doesn't make you um, a weaker negotiator. It's just one of those things you have to um, work around or overcome or whatever. So yeah, we'll be talking about language a lot because it's if the negotiation is being done by speaking, and not all negotiation is done by speaking, but a lot of it is, then that becomes an important factor. So thank you, Roy. Thank you for mentioning that. Next.
Hi.
Mukesh.
Hi. My name is Mukesh.
And you're on a different airplane now. You have a tree behind you.
Yeah, I am at Paris now. My
Paris
plane
now.
had landed. Yeah.
Just landed in Paris. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think I'm good at negotiating with people with whom I am knowing very well, and the things which I know, which I think by, and I don't think I am good at negotiating with people which I don't know.
Why not?
Because I don't know what is their culture and what is their like attitude and behavior towards me when I get negotiating with them, and I sometimes feel shy.
So you think it's important that we know more about the people that we're negotiating with?
Yeah, because we have to like just to make a confidence and build rapport towards him, like be warm and friendly with towards the people we have like doing negotiating, like build accountability like on the situation to
Yeah.
make the correct price.
And the other important thing, we don't know if they are necessarily the decision maker. Maybe they can't agree. Maybe they have to talk to somebody else.
Don't know.
And we don't know
Because
sometimes.
I don't, yeah. Because I don't know the real price of the thing which I'm going to buy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mukesh.
Welcome.
Where's your next stop? India, Paris?
I'm searching on Google which is my next stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's going to go next?
Hi, sir.
Sorry, who was that?
Yeah, it's Tijo.
Tijo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think personally I am a good negotiator, but
Huh?
I have a lot of, personally I am a good negotiator, but I have a lot of barriers like communication, as Roy said.
Communication what?
I have many barriers like communication.
Okay. Why is that a barrier?
Yeah, because some people will not understand what I was saying or what I am trying to say. Some people can easily understand what I say. So as the communication, I am a good negotiator. If I can convince them, I think I can achieve what I feel in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so if you can communicate, you can convince them.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. What if they're a better communicator?
Excuse me?
What if they are a better communicator and they convince you?
I will try to hold my point.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Thanks, Tijo.
Thank you.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Joel.
Yeah, personally, I think about myself, I think I'm not a very good negotiator because I think negotiation is something in which you need to persuade a people, persuade a person basically. And I'm not really good at persuading. So I don't think I will succeed in negotiation.
What does succeed mean?
I mean, like, I don't think I will necessarily bring what I want or what my company wants home. So.
Okay. So that's your definition of success?
Yeah, basically he might end up getting what the other party wants, but not not me. I might just accept whatever he's saying and not really have a point to return back. So
Okay. Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
I mean, it depends on the gravity of the situation. If it's
Ah,
something that's absolutely needed, and I end up like destroying it all, um, that can be really bad. But if it's like a simple thing, I don't think it will create much of a problem.
okay. And if it's a very important thing, what might you do to try to improve your probability of getting something that is more favorable to you? And it's a very important thing. What might you do?
I mean, I would try researching on the person. I would try to find out what he likes, what he dislikes, and try to build a strong point upon that, and try
Ah,
to, I don't know.
excellent. No, that's a perfect answer, because you said I think you said you would do some research.
Hmm.
Yes, and that is really critical. One of the things you people will understand is the biggest the the key to successful negotiation. There are three words, and the first word is preparation, and the second word is preparation, and the third word is preparation. Preparation, preparation, preparation. And so, Joel, exactly what you said is right. I asked you the right question. So when you feel like you're heading into a negotiation and it's either very important or you're not feeling very confident or whatever, the biggest thing you can do is prepare. And we'll talk a lot about preparing and what to do to prepare. And whether it's doing research or whatever it might be, that is the biggest thing you can do to improve um, the overall outcome of the negotiation, probably for both sides. Because quite often we're going, I think someone mentioned it, maybe it's Alexander and others have said, if I'm going into a negotiation with somebody and they know a lot more about the subject matter than I do, well, how do you fix that? You prepare. You try to do more homework. And that isn't to say that you can be an expert. If you're negotiating with an expert, that's fine. That's okay. You can never become as much of an expert, but you can become knowledgeable about the things that you're negotiating about. And that's the key. So thank you, Joel. You mentioned so the what you do to get help, or you can get help doing that's part of your preparation. But yes, perfect. Thank you. Next.
Hello, sir. I'm Kaushik.
Kaushik? Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to tell, like,
can you use video, Kaushik?
Yeah.
Okay, there you are.
Hello, sir.
Good.
So I could be a good negotiator, I think, if I knows the subject on which I am negotiating. So, like, if I am good at that subject, I could put good points for negotiating. And if I am not good at that subject where I am negotiating, I could be reluctant to put some good points for my discussion. So I think for me to be a good negotiator, I should have a pre-hand knowledge about the subject.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Preparation.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And how about personally, just in personal negotiation?
Personal negotiation, I will say I am a good negotiator.
Okay, why?
Like, I always keep my discussions very precise. Like, I never go into random talks in discussions. So I always put good points to make other person to persuade other person, that I think.
What if, that's a good point. What if the other person is kind of chatty and they want to talk about the weather, or they want to talk about the soccer game last night. They want to talk about what they had for dinner with their family, and they just want to talk about things that have nothing to
Then,
do with the negotiation. What do you do?
then like depending on the person, if I enjoy the conversation, then I go ahead. I
Ah,
become the person, get along with him. So yeah, then the discussions go long. But
ah.
yeah,
So you're flexible.
yes,
Okay.
you can say
Yeah. Okay.
yes.
Good. Thanks, Kaushik.
Yeah, welcome.
We're getting near the end. We're not at the end yet, but we're getting there. Next.
Hi, I go next.
Hello, Daisy.
Yes.
Are-
I can say for sure whether I'm good or bad at negotiating because some days ago I just negotiated with my landlord about the rent. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. Tell us more.
Okay. And I won't. He agreed to decrease my rent, but I failed in asking my housemate to clean up. So my point is I'm only successful when I have strength over others.
Say that again. When you have,
Strengths. I mean,
just tell us more.
mm, for example, when negotiating with the landlord, if if he doesn't agree to decrease the rent, I will move out, and it could be a damage to him. I think I have strength over him, but when I asked my housemate to cleaning up, I had nothing to explain to her, so I failed.
Ah, yeah.
So about the question about the first negotiation, I guess my first no this something I read before, and I just tell you now. No, my first negotiation is when I was still a baby, wearing diaper. Even I was not able to talk. I got what I needed. For example, I cried when I wanted to be fed.
Yes.
Believe me, I always the winner over my mother.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow, Daisy, thank you so much, because that's exactly the answer that I was hoping that someone would come up with. And it is true. We have all been negotiating since the day we were born,
Okay.
and maybe even before that. We might have kicked our mother's stomach from the inside, and she might have rolled over to make us more comfortable. So we have all been negotiating all our lives, and I really can't emphasize that enough. That is so important. So we are all we are all experienced negotiators. All of us. We have been negotiating all our lives, and we may not have realized it was negotiation. So yeah, thank you, Daisy. That is one of the key messages I wanted people to pick up.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'm sure your mother fed you very willingly. Thank you. We still got 3 or 4 or 5 to go. And you know who you are.
Hi, I'm next.
Okay. First
Yeah,
name?
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So what's your first name?
You can call me Kit.
Kit.
K-I-E-T, Kit. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you, Kit.
So I'm not sure I'm a good negotiator or not, but you know, I tend to be controlled by emotion. So in some negotiation terms, I tend to lose a lot of benefits because you know someone talk to me a lot and I can be pursued easily by them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
It's not good, I think, but you know, I'm not good at using beautiful word on you know enjoy the debate. Yeah, I tend to easily agree with some agreement.
Is that always true, whether it's business or personal?
I impose.
Both.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're talking with some friends about what restaurant to go and have dinner, and there are 4 of you talking, and you
Yeah.
have 4 different choices.
I
Who wins?
usually have no choices. Yeah, depends on them. Yeah.
Depends on them. So you, in English, we use the phrase "we go with the flow."
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I know.
you go where somebody else decides to go to have a meal.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I don't like to like talk too much. You know, actually because I'm not good speaking as well. So, and in some in business terms, you sometimes if I lose a lot of benefit, I tend to quit the negotiation immediately.
If you don't see a benefit?
Yeah, if I lose a lot of benefit, I tend to quit immediately.
Okay.
I don't want to talk too much.
And does it matter whether you're speaking Vietnamese or English?
Yes, yeah, in both language.
So even if you're speaking in Vietnamese to another person,
yes,
you have equal communication.
Yeah, it's you know it's the language no matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Kit. We're going to take a break when we're all done. So the faster we get there, the sooner we get to have a break. So I'm offering something.
Oh, hello, sir.
Yes.
I want to go next.
Okay, Trang.
Yeah. I don't think I'm a good negotiator because sometimes I always want to make everybody happy. So I may not achieve what I want. And I don't think that is the good thing.
Because you made somebody else happy?
I want to everybody to be happy, but as a result, I'm not that happy.
Okay. So you're not a good negotiator because you don't make yourself happy.
Yeah, because sometimes I don't get what I want.
Oh, sometimes you don't get what you want.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do.
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes you do and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
But like most of the time, I always do the thing that others want, but not me. So
your colleagues know, I couldn't quite hear you.
I mean that I want others to be happy, so I don't. So I always like compromise with a will.
Uh-huh.
So and sometimes I don't get what I want.
Sometimes you do get what you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can get what you want and make the other person happy, is that perfect?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, we all wish it turned out like that, where both sides walk away happy and both sides get what they want.
Yeah.
Okay. And we often that's a really good point you brought up, because we think that both sides getting what they want and both sides being happy is almost impossible to achieve. We always think that one side is going to get more than the other, or one side's going to win and the other side is going to lose. and so it's not always, it doesn't have to be that way. And we'll talk a lot about that. So thank you, Trang, for bringing that up. Very good point.
Okay, thank you.
We're almost done. Okay, Manpreet Singh.
Hello.
Or Joel George. I don't care.
Hello.
Hello, Manpreet.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Can you put yourself on video? Thank you.
Yeah. According to me, the negotiation is the process to make an agreement with the mutual benefits.
Yes.
Like to make an agreement which satisfy the other opposite party and the party that is making an agreement, so that it can provide the equal benefits to both parties.
Yes, I couldn't quite so do you think you are good at that?
It depend. I think it depend upon the situation. Like in some situations, the matters that I like, in those situations, I am a good negotiator to make an agreement to satisfy me as well as the opposite parties. But sometimes it is difficult for me to create an agreement that will satisfy the opposite party.
So it's difficult to get an agreement that satisfies the other party?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So you're right. It depends on the situation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it depends upon the situation.
Okay. Thanks, Manpreet.
Thank you.
Joel. Your turn.
Hi. Hello.
Joel George, yes?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, sir.
We can hear you.
Yes, sir. I spoke.
You spoke, you did. That's true. Yep. Thank you.
I think my connection is not stable. That's why I went in between.
Have we heard from Bin? Votai Bin. Or maybe, is that a woman or a man? Do you know? Does anybody know it's a woman or a man?
He's a man.
He's a boy.
A man, okay. Oh,
yeah,
and
he's
maybe,
a boy.
yes, and they're not here today. Okay. Okay, so then I think we have heard from everybody then. Okay, thank you. Yeah, because saying participants 24, but that includes me. So we only have 23 people and we're supposed to have 24 today. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. That was a very good discussion. You see, everybody is different, and that's really what I wanted you to really get. And that's why it's worth taking the time. I mean, it took us over an hour to do that. It's worth doing that because that's what negotiation is all about. It's all about people, and we are all different, and we all have different skills. We're all good at different things, and we all have different attitudes and different knowledge, and so that's what negotiation depends on. Okay, let's take about a 10-minute break. I know we've been sitting for over an hour and a half. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll start talking about some of the material in the class. Okay, let's say at 11:40. Okay, 11:40. We'll come back. Okay.
Vladimir.
Okay, I've turned the recording back on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get to the PowerPoint. Oh, just one second. Okay, I think we're okay. Okay, can you all see something called Negotiation and Conflict Resolution, Chapter 13? Could someone say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Yes.
And you can all hear me. Okay, good, good.
Yes.
All right. So I guess you can see me. Can you see me or not?
Yeah.
Yes,
We can
yes.
see the PowerPoint
Okay.
and your.
Yes.
We can see both.
I can see you and the beach.
Okay, so when I'm speaking, okay, then you can now I can see what you can see. All right. So thank you very much for spending the time to do that. So what we're going to talk about is how to negotiate with vendors and things like that. And so the first thing is, what is negotiation? We'll talk about what negotiation is, right? And because quite often it's a bit confusing as to, you know, what it really is. And then we'll talk about what that means in supply management. So negotiation, as several of you said, it's a process of formal communication. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be formal, does it? It can be formal and it can be informal, but it's face to face or via electronic means, kind of like we're doing now. But it can be anything. It can be telephone, it can be email, it can be, you know, video conference. It could even be in the old-fashioned way, you know, even writing letters back and forth. You know, negotiations used to be done by, you know, sending mail back and forth. It was a lot slower, but, you know, so it can be done anywhere, pretty much anytime. And the key word, 2 or more people. It can be people, it can be groups, it can be organizations, and they come together to find a way to come to a mutual agreement. Well, as someone said, we weren't really sure what we were negotiating about. So what is it we're negotiating about? And the issue, and that's a key word we'll use a lot, is issue. And so we're negotiating about one or more, and quite often there's more than one. Just 1 second, 1 second. There we go. And and often that's what gets in the way too, is because that we don't agree on what the issues are. And the process, it involves time, and it involves, you know, information and power between the people that are negotiating. There could be time constraints, there can be information constraints. People don't know what everybody else knows. And so the key is that it's between people, not just organizations. Quite often they'll say, you know, that, you know, Amazon is negotiating with one of its suppliers. And well, is Amazon negotiating with one of its suppliers? No. Somebody from Amazon is talking to somebody at one of the suppliers. It's a person communicating with another person. It is true that computers can negotiate, and they're getting more at it, but mostly it's people. Now, you may represent an organization. It's a person representing an organization, but it's a person. And that's why the relationships are so important, is because it's people talking to people. And you may say, well, Amazon's got a very good, you know, relationship with, you know, a book company. Well, yes, but it's because the people at Amazon have got a very good relationship with the people at the book company. And persuasion is very important as well. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow, actually, or I'm sorry, next week. We'll watch a video on persuasion and what some of the persuasion techniques actually are. And as came up in our discussions earlier, people think, well, I'm not a good negotiator because I haven't learned how to negotiate. And it's true, we've been negotiating our whole lives, but negotiation is a skill, and there are various skills, and that's why we're taking the course, right? And there are things that can be learned, and you can get better at it. And mostly it's an issue of becoming aware of what are the skills and what makes you a good negotiator. And we already have a lot of them, or a little of them, and we just don't know. And then to negotiate, why is it important to negotiate? And then, well, because in the supply chain, you know, working as a buyer or as a seller, it doesn't really matter. Negotiation is what keeps things going. That's how you actually get things done. When you have a strategy or a procedure you want to implement to keep your goods flowing or your services being bought and sold, negotiation is what does that, okay? You can't do it without negotiation. So implementing the strategy and the plans requires negotiation. Now, there's some language. that you're going to hear a lot, and over the next 13 weeks. The first one, and we'll talk about all of these individually, but the first one is BATNA, B-A-T-N-A, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. That is probably the most important issue in all of negotiation, and we'll talk about why and what it means, okay? And then we'll talk about position and interest and need and want and what's a fact and what's an issue, what's a strategy, and where does power come from, and what does concession mean, and what are tactics, okay? So we'll be going through those one at one. I'm going to spend some time on this one. BATNA. And like it says here, the point where it's advantageous to walk away from the negotiation. That is not true. This is an error, okay? This slide is wrong, and even your textbook is wrong on page 599. But your BATNA is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So this is what's on this slide is wrong, and it is what the BATNA is what happens if you cannot come to an agreement. Where does that leave you? Okay, what is your alternative? If you cannot come to a deal, what is your alternative? Do you have something else you can do? Do you have somewhere else you can buy it from? Do you have another supplier? Can you buy something different? Can you do without it? Whatever it might be, what is your alternative? And your strength comes from how good your alternative is. You always have one. You always have an alternative. It might not be a particularly good one, and that means, so that implies your BATNA, your best alternative, is not a very strong one. Let me tell you a little story to explain that or show how that works. I drive a Honda, and I've always been interested in Hondas. I might have mentioned this in my last class. Anyway, I was driving down the road a few years ago, and I drove by a Honda dealership, and a car in the parking lot kind of caught my eye. It was a red Honda Accord. So I had a few minutes to spare, so I just drove into the parking lot, and I went in, and the sticker on the car said, $12,000 was the price. So I went into the dealership, and I found a salesman, and I said, "Oh, would you accept $8,000 for that car? Would you let me have it for $8,000?" And it came back out. He went to talk to his manager, and he came back out and said, "No, the best we could do is $10,000." And I said, "Okay, thank you very much." And I walked away. I walked out the door. I just asked him a question, and I walked out the door and got in my car and drove away. He was probably surprised. The salesman was probably surprised when I did that. But the reason I could do that, I could just walk away from the negotiation, was that I had a good alternative. I had the car I was driving. It was perfectly fine. So if I couldn't come to a deal with that dealership on that particular car that I thought I might like, it was okay, because I had an alternative. So the alternative to not coming to an agreement is walking away, and what happens when you walk away, okay? And that's what your BATNA is. It's what happens when you walk away. It is not a number, like this says. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I really want to focus on that, and make sure that this sinks in. We'll be talking about this a lot. You'll get tired of hearing the word BATNA, that's for sure. And so that's what it is. It's the alternative. It is what happens when you walk away. Now, this says you should never reveal that to your other party. Now, when you're negotiating with somebody, should they know what your alternatives are? Well, who knows? Maybe they already do know your alternative. They've done their homework, whatever. Now that salesman, when he watched me walk in the door, he could tell, I guess, that the car I drove in was perfectly fine. So I could walk away if I wanted to. But wouldn't it be different if I had driven into the lot in an old car that sounded really terrible, and it had smoke coming out the back and the engine was ready to die, and I managed to drive into the parking lot, and just as I pulled into the parking lot, the car quit. The car stalled and wouldn't start. So there it was. So I get out of the car and I come in to the dealership. Well, now the salesman, if he's one watching, he knows that my alternative is not a very strong one. So it's obviously going to change the way he negotiates. So when I come in to say, would you sell me that car for $8,000? He's going to say, no. Best we could do is 11,800. When the sticker price was 12,000. He's going to negotiate pretty hard because he knows that I really don't have any choice, or he thinks I don't have a choice. Okay. And so the perception of your BATNA, do you have a strong BATNA or do you not have a strong BATNA, is one of your biggest sources of power. And it's what gives you the position gives you the ability to take a position that you might not otherwise be able to take. Okay. So that's what BATNA is talking about. And whether you reveal it to the other party or not, if you have a weak BATNA, it's probably better that they don't know. But if you have a strong BATNA, then maybe it's okay for them to know. In fact, it might be to their advantage, to your advantage, if they know that your BATNA is strong. So it says all settlements must be judged in light of all other viable alternatives existing at the time of agreement. Now, the fourth line down from there, it says the bottom line or reservation point. We'll talk about that in a minute, the reservation point. I think, was that one on the list? It was not. Okay. So let's talk about reservation point. That is another key term. It is your bottom line. It is, in my case, it was the highest price I was prepared to pay. I wouldn't pay any more than $8,000 for the car. That was my bottom line. That was my reservation point. Your reservation point is the point where you walk away. The wording just got mixed up in here. I don't know why they got it mixed up, but your reservation point is the lowest price, or if you're a buyer, it's the highest price that you're prepared to pay. If you're a seller, it's the lowest price that you would sell for. It is your bottom line. And if you cannot come to an agreement at your bottom line, then you walk away. You walk away, and that is called exercising your BATNA. When you walk away, and you walk away at your reservation point. So that's why BATNA and reservation point quite often get mixed up, okay? So your reservation point is your bottom line. Your BATNA is not your bottom line. Your BATNA is what happens if you walk away. What is your alternative to not coming to an agreement, okay? Position. And I think the next one is interest, yeah. So a little story, it's quite of a famous story that was talked about in the Harvard negotiating books, but they talk about two kids and they're two children and they're arguing over an orange. There's one orange and they both want the whole thing. And the sister says to the brother, well, how could we cut it in half? And the brother says, no, we can't cut it in half. I want the whole orange. And she says, well, so do I. I want the whole orange too. And so they're arguing back and forth, and they can't cut it in half because cutting it in half won't work. They both want the whole orange. And then their mother walks in, and she hears them arguing over the orange, and there is only one. And so she asks them, she asks the girl, why are you arguing so hard? Why do you want the orange? Why do you want the whole orange? And she said, well, because I'm making some icing for a cake and I need the peel. I need all of the peel from a whole orange, you know, to grate the outside of it and scrape it into the icing for the cake. I need the rind from the orange. I need the peel from the whole orange. And so she asks the boy, what do you want? Why do you want the whole orange? He said, well, I'm making juice. I'm making orange juice. And I need the juice from the whole orange. And she said, well, then why don't you take the peel off the orange and give it to your sister and then squeeze the juice out of the orange for yourself? And so they did. So she was able to come to a solution that the two people who were negotiating would never have been able to come to, or appeared not to be able to come to, on their own. And the difference is position and interest. The two kids were expressing their position. They each wanted the whole orange. That was their demand, okay? So quite often it's the opening offer, as this says, and it's usually, you would hope to get that. Maybe you think you're not going to get that, but it's your opening offer, and it's what is stated at the table. Mukesh, did you want to say something? Okay. And so that is quite often what is stated at the table. It's the position. And as we mentioned earlier in the class, quite often that isn't what people really want. So if you're smart and you ask a question about why is it? You go behind the position, find out what's going on behind, and what that talks about is the interest. And these are two very important terms, position and interest. Like it says here, the unspoken motivation or the reason that underlies any given position. I mean, the girl wasn't saying she wanted the peel and the boy wasn't saying he wanted the juice. They were both just saying they wanted the whole orange. The mother had the wisdom to explore what the interest was. Well, it doesn't have to be done by a third party. It can be done, in fact, it's almost never done by a third party. It can be done at the negotiating table. If you find that you're kind of locked, you can't get anywhere, then you start asking questions about why. Try to find out what is it that the other party really wants. Okay? It might be personal, and it might be completely different from the position that is stated at the table. It may just be that somebody wants to buy something for a good price, but their real reason for doing it is they want to please their boss. Okay, that could be the interest. You know, my boss says, I've got to come back from this negotiation with a good bargain because I'm a buyer. Well, maybe there's another way. And you can explore other ways of coming to an achievement, coming to a solution that might still make you look good in front of your boss. But now you can talk about something completely different rather than arguing over the price. So position and interest and BATNA, three very important terms. Okay. Key points to think about when interests. And again, learn to play detective. Find out what the other party really wants and then listen. I had a couple of people said they were very good at listening, finding out what the other party really wants. And some of you thought that was a weakness. that you focused on the other person's interests and what they really wanted. It is not a weakness at all. It doesn't mean that you have to give it to them, but by finding out what it is they really want, then you can become a lot more creative in finding out answers, okay? So finding out what the other side really wants is a strength. Absolutely a strength. That's a very, very good thing to do. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to give it to them, but knowing what they want, then you can play around, okay? Need, need versus want. What does the other person need? Or are they just talking about what they want? Do they absolutely have to have it, okay? One's optional, one's a must. And that is a very important thing to know, because when you're starting to trade things, you're changing your position, called concession. Well, I give you something, you give me something, or I come up in my price, you come down in your price, whatever. Those are concessions on if it's just price. But when there are several issues going on, then you may find out that some of them are more important than others, and some of them represent what the other side absolutely needs, and some of them are just what they want, okay? So needs and wants. Again, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. So here's just a little diagram that I think is kind of describes what the process really is. And the first step is to know what you want. Know exactly what you want. Okay, and that's part of your preparation. And then you need to know exactly what they want. Again, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. So find out what they want, and you know what you want. And then 3 is to propose something that they can accept. And obviously you're not going to propose something that's no good to you, but so the idea is to find something that meets your needs, meets your wants, makes you happy, makes your boss happy, whatever it might be, and the other side can accept it. So that's what the process is: knowing what you want, knowing what they want, and then making a proposal that the other side can accept. And both sides are doing this, right? So it's happening all the time. Well, how do you know? And why? Why is it important to know what you want? Okay. Well, I say if you don't know what you want, you'll never get it. You know, and if you really know what you want, then you'll know how to articulate it, how to describe it, how to describe it in a certain way. Okay. And it keeps you focused on the negotiation. And as someone said, that they didn't like distraction. They didn't like having a lot of other conversation about social talk and whatever, etc. And if you've taken the time to write it down, then you can always be going back to it, because quite often negotiations get very complicated. They go on for a long time, days, weeks, months, sometimes. And it's very easy to lose track or forget about what it is you wanted in the first place. Yeah, what were we negotiating about again? So as part of your preparation, it's very important to know what you want, write it down, especially if there's more than one thing, and there almost always is more than one thing. Know what they want. Again, back to the orange and whatever. What are their interests? Find out why. And they are doing the same thing for you. They are trying to find out why you are asking what you want for. Well, why you're asking for what you want, and you're trying to find out the same thing. And so it's actually very good that both of you are doing that, because then you can ask questions and poke back and forth. And actually the quicker you get to this step, the better. You know, each of you finding out what the other side wants and why. It helps come to an understanding, helps the relationship. And you may have some assumptions that you thought. You thought they wanted this because of that. You thought that's what they would come in for, and you find out, whoa, no, that isn't what they were doing. That isn't the why. And that may change your strategy when you find out that your assumption wasn't right. And then, excuse me, and then proposing action in a way they can accept. The third step. Well, you have to talk about your needs in terms of the other party's needs. Okay. So you might want to, you may want a lower price, but you may be able to do like maybe some higher volume or something because you know that they need either a higher price or they need more volume, bigger order, or you can change something about you want a lower price, but what else can you offer as well as that in order so it makes it good for them as well. Address their needs first. So if you know that this particular salesperson, for example, might have a quota and they have to hit a monthly quota, and you know that because you've done some preparation, and maybe they're short on their sales that month or something like that, or they've got an inventory problem or whatever it might be. You then say, okay, you know what? Let's talk about your sales quota. How are you doing? And that may not have anything to do with price. And the salesperson might say, well, hold it. Now, why are we talking about my sales quota? Well, let's just talk about it. You know, we need 10, but maybe we can order more. How are you doing with your sales? Anyway, you start the conversation and you find out that, well, an order of 30 or 40 would be a fantastic order. And they normally don't sell more than maybe 10, but that'd be fantastic. Well, if I were to order 30 or 40, what would that do? Oh, I'd give them to you at a much lower price. Oh, because then he hits his quota, et cetera, et cetera. That's the kind of conversations you need to have so that you bring other issues to the table. You find out the why. Find out the why. And maybe your price would be a perfectly acceptable price if the quantity was such that it met his needs. Okay? So if you can meet their needs by meeting your needs, it's a win-win-win. But it almost always means you need to bring two or more issues together. You cannot just talk about price because that's, you know, what I win, you lose, etc. But what else can we talk about? Okay? So price, quantity, quality, whatever it might be. This is just a very simple chart. What is the requirement? What is your sourcing requirement? What is it you want to buy? Do you have to do negotiation or do you have to do bidding? Then plan for the negotiation, plan for the negotiation, plan for the negotiation, preparation, preparation, preparation. Then do the negotiation and then you execute the agreement, whether it's a contract, you know, and you follow up on it, okay? Okay. I think we'll skip through some of this. We know what this is all about. What's the sourcing requirement, the requisition? How do you know what you need? You do inventory counts. You've got reorder point systems. When your inventory gets to a certain point, gets down to a certain point, you know you have to order, okay? You may have a new product that you're working on and you need a part for the product or whatever it might be, or you're building new facilities. And so you need to purchase things for a building, you're building a new warehouse. It could be almost anything, but you need to know what it is that you are buying and why. And what is it? And the more detail you know, the better, right? Now, do you have to bid? Do you have to go out and ask for bids for this? Are you required? Now, in the public sector, if you're working for a government here in British Columbia, I think anything over, they all have different rules, but anything over $10,000, I think, or maybe $20,000, anything over that must go out to a bidding process. You must ask for bids. So is the bid process adequate? How many issues are there involved? What is it, a big contract? Or is it a very technically complex contract? I mean, I was working as a seller on a very large, I worked on a couple of very large projects where just the technical specification, it was the government that was buying it. The technical specification ran for 10,000 pages. You know, that was for the air traffic control system for Canada. The Canadian government was replacing the air traffic control system. So extremely complicated. So a lot of negotiation. They went out for bids. I mean, the proposal was 5,000 pages that got submitted for that. That doesn't happen all that often, but it can. So you know it's going to, and I've worked on a few of those. So what does the contract involve? You know, are we building a plant? Are we building equipment? So in other words, are we going to be negotiating, or is this strictly, hey, we're buying 100 shares, you know, for the conference room? How complicated is it? So are we going to be negotiating, or will we be doing competitive bidding? Okay. So when to negotiate? Maybe you're talking about costs. Maybe you're talking about what isn't going to be a straight fixed price contract. Well, we talk about that a little bit. What are the lead times? Are they fixed, or are they variable? Are you willing to be flexible on those things? What is the product quality level? What do you expect? Is it of the service or the product? And how can you get information? You know, how will you know when a good job has been done? How will you measure? What are the metrics? Okay, will you need a lot of support and specialists, what are called SMEs, subject matter experts, because we don't always know everything about everything. We can't be experts, like Alexander said. So we may need to bring in people onto our team, you know, who are the technical experts, the production experts, the supply chain experts like we are, etc. Is there special packaging, and are we going to negotiate various parts of the contract like liability and loss and things like that? Okay, so that's when you know you're going to be negotiating. We won't go into these in great detail, but you can just get the idea that whenever it's getting complicated, these are all different parts of a contract, the payment schedules, and how long the contract will be, and when would we renew it, et cetera, et cetera. These are all clauses in a contract, and if they are issues, if these things are going to be variable and you want to make sure you get the right ones, then you are going to be negotiating for sure. And these are more clauses and things like that. In other words, when it's complicated enough, then you are definitely going to be negotiating. Same thing, big contract, technical, etc. Reasons for negotiation, same idea. And I think this one's good. If the agreement does involve a special or a collaborative relationship, and we're going to talk a lot about collaboration, so make a note of that, collaborative relationships, which is a very different situation from a win-lose, or even better than a win-win. And how can we collaborate? And this is the latest thing. More companies now, in fact, even in these days of this pandemic and everything, people are realizing that they can't negotiate in the usual way. We have to figure out a way that we can both survive. And sometimes it's a case of survival. And so it's not a question of what I want or what you want. How can we both make adjustments so that it's going to be a little bit painful for both of us. We understand that, but it'll benefit both of us, and we can survive. Okay, and we can work on it together. And that's what collaboration is all about. Is finding a way to come to an agreement that is suitable. It's good, I guess, if you will. One of the people said, you negotiated a rental increase, a rental decrease with your landlord, because if you were not able to do that, then you would have to move out. So the landlord would have lost a tenant, which is not good for the landlord, and you moving out is not a good thing for you. But nor is, you can't pay the full rent. But by coming to an agreement of reducing the rent and then staying, you are still having to pay rent. So that's, it's still a bit painful. The landlord is taking a decrease in the rent, which is a little bit painful, but they're not losing a tenant. So it's better than having, if it's $1,000 a month rent, $800 a month is better than zero. So that's a good example of a collaborative relationship. And we'll talk a lot about that, what collaborative relationships are all about. Here we go. Planning, planning, planning. Preparation, preparation, preparation. Better planning leads to better outcomes. Okay? Period. If you want to have a better outcome in your negotiation, whatever that might be, then spend more time planning. I will send you a template that is an Excel template, and I'll do it after this class, which is a planning tool. It's got all the different things you might want to think about when you're getting ready for a negotiation. You won't use, no negotiation would use all of them, but it's kind of a checklist. You can go down the list and think, okay, we thought about that, we thought about that, we thought about that. Didn't need that, oh yeah, we got to think more about that. So it's called a planning template for negotiation, and I will send that to you. So are we going to be doing electronic communication, or are we going to be doing face-to-face? This is important, extremely important, to know how the negotiation is going to be done. Will this be email? Will this be Zoom? Or are we going to do it face-to-face? Will it be video conferencing? That's really a key thing. Are we going to do it by phone? That old-fashioned thing, telephone, rather than travel. Sometimes the travel is necessary, and it makes a big difference that you do travel. There are online RFPs and RFQ templates that you can use. I'm not a big fan of them, but if you're doing it for the first time, then you do need to start somewhere, and that's a good thing to use if you're designing an RFP or an RFQ, and I can talk at great length about that. Simultaneous negotiations with multiple suppliers. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Simultaneous negotiations with multiple suppliers. Generally, not a good thing to be doing, because then you end up playing one supplier against the other. But so anyway, but certainly to use online tools, they're all over the place. When you are preparing, why? What should you spend your time working on when you are preparing? And obviously one of the first ones, what are the issues? What are we negotiating about? Is it just price? Is it delivery? Is it quantity? Is it quality? Is it whatever it is if you're buying? Is it the timing? Is it whatever? And what do we really need? Like, in other words, the things that we are asking for, these issues, which of them are important to us and which of them are perhaps not so important? And this is very, very important to know. It's even worth ranking them. Of all the issues, price, quantity, quality, timing. Timing is the most important. Timing is critical for us. We cannot give in on the timing. We would even be prepared to pay a little more, for better timing, whatever it might be. So you list all the issues, and you list what outcomes that you would like from those issues, and then assemble them in order of priority. Which are our needs? Which are our wants? Okay. So defining the issues, assembling the issues, and then defining the bargaining mix. Would we maybe blend some of these together? How, if we were negotiating this, we might give a little bit on this issue. If we got a little bit more on that issue, you know, it's going to be complicated usually. Okay. What are the interests? Why do we want what we want? What's driving us? And then what's the other side? Okay. What's driving them? Why do they want what they want? They're asking for the whole orange. Why do they want the whole orange? How much can we may not know. We might not be able to find out. Okay. So if that's one thing that you aren't able to find out, then all right. It's one of the things maybe to begin with in the conversation. Ask questions. So these are things to focus on. It doesn't necessarily mean that you get it all. So if you aren't able to get some of the information, you make a note. Okay, we need to find out about this. Maybe we'll ask questions at the table. Okay. So when you are, well, let's go back to okay, excuse me. Let me just do this. There we go. There. Excuse me just for 1 second. Okay. All right. Reasons for negotiation. So, are there any questions? We sort of covered a lot of ground quite quickly. Let me get out of the stop share. And now we're back here. Okay, we still have everybody here. So I covered a fair amount there in pretty quick terms. So any thoughts, questions? Let me just grab your textbook and point to that reference. Oh, do I have one? I think I do. Where to put it? That error in the textbook that I talked about, $4.99. Yes, it's on page 499, and I've brought this to the attention of Oren and everybody else, so they all know. So on page 499, the first paragraph, they're talking about BATNA, and what they're saying is just wrong. Okay, and I don't know why they said it like they did, but it's just not right. And I wouldn't be making an issue about it. I mean, I don't really care about, you know, errors in textbooks and things, but this particular one is important. I see someone, it looks like you have a child in your lap. Keat. Keat? It looks like you have a child that's sitting in your lap, or a dog. Oh, it's a dog. It's a stuffed doll. Okay, fair enough. I like it. My dog was sitting under my desk. I had to kick him out of my room. He's a big dog, and he's a big suck. So yeah, that's a key thing, is that your BATNA is what happens when you don't come to an agreement, and the reservation point is that point where you walk away. You're not able to do the deal. So we went pretty quickly. I've covered just about everything I wanted to do today. I think that these classes will be shorter than they would be necessarily in a classroom, because we can cover the material fairly quickly. But certainly feel free to ask any questions anytime. And we will be doing in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be doing some negotiation exercises. And we can do them on Zoom, where you'll be negotiating with people on Zoom, one-on-one, two-on-two sometimes. And we don't know yet how we're going to do the quizzes. There's normally like a midterm test, and we don't know how we're going to do that yet. We may substitute a written assignment for that. But I think it's worthwhile doing a test. But I have Langara hasn't told me how to do that yet. how to do online tests. And then the same thing for the final. One thing I wanted to just quickly around the room, just for not everybody will have to do this, but sort of as an add-on to the question about whether you think you're a good negotiator or not. I like to hear from people. What is it like when you saw the outline of this course, and I have to take a course in negotiation? What is it that you hope to learn? What do you want to take away from this course? After 13 weeks. In other words, think about my time would be well spent. I would consider my time and my money to be well spent if I could learn something. I'd like to hear people's thoughts on that. So my time and my money would be well spent if I could learn it's a little bit about why. I know you're taking the course because you have to. I get that. So I want to get a little bit beyond that. So given that you have to take it and you're paid good money for it, and you traveled all this way to come here for this, but for this class, this particular class, my time and my money would be well spent if I could learn I think you're all unmuted. Yes, you are. So anybody can speak. But I see your microphones are all muted. Just a couple of people. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. Mukesh, where are you now?
I am at Burrard Street.
Burrard Street, okay. So what would make this course worthwhile for you? What do you want to learn?
I got to learn how to just negotiate with people to make a good deal.
To make a good deal?
Yeah.
Okay. What's a good deal?
Like where we get the worth of the things by putting the money. Like if we're talking about like business, if we go to a meeting to make some deal with the other person to buy some raw material, so we can just negotiate with them to buy the things in good price.
A good price, you said?
What?
I didn't hear the last part of what you said.
Like through this course, I like learn to negotiate with the people during the business meeting to negotiate with people to buy the products like raw material for our companies.
Okay, is that what your job is now? You're negotiating for raw materials?
It can be anything like raw materials, depend upon the business, which business you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is there something specific about that you think you would really like to know about? You think you don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. We can't see your face, Mukesh. You can move your camera. There we go. Ah, there. Now we can see you. There. Oh, much better.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hello. Yeah. So
Lindell.
I think you keep on mentioning about preparation. So I think that's what I want to learn. Like, what are the processes of that you're talking about that we keep on planning? So what are the specific procedures with that? So I think that would be the biggest takeaway from this course.
Okay. Yep. You'll certainly get lots of that. And thank you for reminding me. I'll send you that the planning template after the class to all of you as well. Yeah, I think that's a key one for sure.
Hi, Doug. So what I'd like to learn is what to listen for when negotiating from the other party, because there's going to be subtle signs that we don't realize they're part of it, because body language speaks louder than sometimes than what they're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to learn how to do that, what to look for when negotiating.
What to listen for? Okay.
Yeah, what to listen and look for, and how to ask better open-ended questions.
Ah, yeah. Well, I'll tell you right away. Well, as most of you know, I am a coach. I'm a personal coach, and that is one of the fundamental skills we learn as a coach is how to ask questions. But one thing I'll tell you right away is if you try to avoid asking a question that can be answered with yes or no.
Yeah.
Don't ask a question that can be, you could say, well, do you want to have, or would you be prepared to pay this much? And they'll say yes or no. Well, that's not the kind of question you want to ask, right? So before you ask the question, think about, am I asking a yes/no question, or am I asking a question that says, well, tell me more about that, etc. Yeah, good.
I would say I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Alexander. Hi.
I would be glad to have some kind of system with clear steps, how exactly negotiate in the end of this course, because it's personally for me, as I think, it's hard to imagine that we will drastically improve our negotiation skills, but we can have a system, and this system could help us to like have clear steps and negotiate. I would say.
Yep. That's a very good point, Alexander. You made a very good point. And no, at the end of this course, none of you are going to be drastically better negotiators, just like I won't be. But it depends. And you're right. You're right. And you more or less will develop your own system, but we will give you the tools, I guess, maybe,
Yeah.
or the things to think about. You know, there is no perfect way. There is no one way. It always depends on where you're negotiating, who it's with, how important the topics
yeah.
are. But you're right. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll get you there.
Hi, can I go?
Yes. Yes, please.
By the end of this course, I would like to, as Alexander said, have the basic tools or guidelines to know where to start And I would like as well to be able to read what's going on in the other people's mind, because when you enter a negotiation, everyone needs to achieve something. So I would like to be able to read what's going on in their mind, to be able to satisfy what their needs, and at the same time I satisfy my needs. So it's a win-win relationship.
Yes.
So what I'm looking for is the basic tools to be able to persuade the people I'm negotiating with.
Okay. We can only see half of your face.
Okay.
There we go. Oh, that's better. So now we know who's talking. Well, you made a good point about reading people's minds. Unless you've got powers that I don't have, we can't read people's minds. So what do you do instead of that? And what it is asking questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. As opposed to saying, concentrating on what you want, you ask questions about, like, well, like the two kids who did not ask the question, why do you want the orange? What's in your mind? Maybe the brother should have read his sister's mind. Maybe he should have known she was making a cake and she would only need the peel. And maybe she should have known, she should have read his mind, that he's known he was making juice, he only needed the juice. But they don't. We don't do that. We don't read each other's minds, so we ask questions. So that's the key. Yeah, but yeah, your point is well taken. How do we understand what it is the other side wants? That doesn't mean we have to give it to them, but how do we understand what it is they're driving at? Good point.
Thank you.
Hi, Doug.
Joel.
Yeah. For me, I would like to learn by the end of this module about how to negotiate in difficult situations and also during uncertainties, because we know about the current situation. So negotiating in difficult time is very important. Like you have negotiated before some uncertainties has happened, and then something has happened, then you try to negotiate on that. So there are two different sections. So negotiating before the uncertainty happened, and then after that. So I like to learn that.
Okay. Can you tell us a little more about that? Like, are you talking about the specifics of what's going on right now, or?
Yeah, because of the coronavirus. Yeah, like many of the businesses before the virus, they have done a lot of businesses and like they have negotiated many contracts. And after this, many had to shut down their businesses, and now they have to negotiate on that about their businesses being carried on. All this. It's like a very difficult situation, right, for everyone right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Jandel, you put your hands up there. Are you agreeing with that?
No, I clapped.
Okay.
Because I got his point. Like he was really telling a good point. So that's a clap, not a raised hand. Sorry.
Hey, thank you, Jandel.
Yeah.
Good. And that's really good. I'm glad you did that. Maybe a show of hands for other people who would like to know more about.
I will also give you a clap, Joel.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I will also give you a clap.
I want to give.
How do
I
you
want to give you a salute, but I can't. I don't know why.
reactions? There we go.
You can just stand up and give us salute.
There we go. You got a clap from me too.
Thumbs up. Thank you.
You get a thumbs up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Joel, because I mean that really it's a situation that we're really in, and we could talk about the textbook stuff all we want, right?
Yeah.
and and what's really going on.
Who's laughing?
Nobody's laughing.
Mukesh.
Yeah.
we're back to your ordinary background now.
Yeah.
So, and I think I don't know the answers because the world does change, but clearly the idea of collaborative negotiation is I think is going to become even more and more important. Like the example we've talked about a couple of times is, you know, if maybe you've lost your job, and so you need to get a rental, a reduction in your rent maybe, and so you go to your landlord, and of course, and your landlord may have lost their job, and they depend on the rent for income, you know, in their house. So everybody is feeling pain, and so it's again, it does come back to BATNAs. You know, what are the alternatives? Who has the stronger alternative? And again, everybody's alternatives now are a little bit weaker. We all don't have anywhere else to go. We don't want to go talk to another landlord. We don't want to go and deal with another supplier. We don't want to switch. We kind of want to stay where we are if we can. And the same with the landlord. You know, the landlord doesn't want to lose the tenant, but they might have to reduce the rent a little bit in order to keep the tenant. Otherwise, the tenant is going to have to go find a cheaper place to live. And so, and you know, the tenant's going to find a place to live somewhere. So, does it make sense to just say, all right, you know, go? If you don't want to pay the rent here, go find somewhere else. That might be the more traditional view, the way it has happened in the past. But now there may not be. Like if I'm the tenant, and you the landlord, you know, don't give me a reduction in the rent, and you tell me, well, okay, just go. Well, as the landlord, what's your alternative? I mean, if I go, do you think there'll be another tenant ready to move in? That's what you're kind of gambling on. You don't know what your alternative would be if you weren't able to come to an agreement. So that's your BATNA, right? So the landlord has a BATNA, and you have a BATNA. We always have one, and it's very important for us to think about when we are negotiating, what is our BATNA, and what is the BATNA of the other side. And so if everybody's kind of gone down, like everybody's position has changed, we're all a little bit more, what's the word, vulnerable, I guess, then I think the key is to stay at the table. That's really, I'm thinking about this out loud. Don't walk away from the table. You know, stay at the table, have more conversation, talk about other things, don't threaten to leave, you know, etc., whatever, because that really doesn't really do anybody any good. So, any other thoughts? Anybody else have any thoughts on how we should be negotiating in these difficult times?
Can I talk?
Yeah, please.
Yes. So as you said, negotiation, maybe we can consider it like a game. So is it true that it is a game? Because in the past, like when I do a negotiation with customer, it's not always like comfortable, because the customer always like give their counter offer. So it's not easy to solve this kind of counter offer. So yeah, so I don't think it's the game to play. So, but as you say, maybe it can be like a game. So, can you tell more about that?
More like about a game, did you say?
Yeah, yeah. It's just like
tell us more about the game.
Yeah, I just want to add you that we can consider negotiation as a game or not.
A game?
Yeah.
Okay.
To play. Yeah.
Any other people have thoughts on that? Is negotiation a game?
Yeah, because like we have player to join the negotiation. So
Yeah, may I talk about that?
yeah.
Yeah, I also think negotiation
Is
is
it Kim?
Yeah, it's Kim. But I think it's different, a bit different with the game, because in the game someone definitely win and somebody is lose. But in negotiation, we have many situations, basically win-win or win and lose. And sometimes we don't even know if we win or we lose, because we may win this, but later we may lose something else. So, yeah, that's my thought.
So Nick, tell us
Yeah.
more about that. That if negotiation, if you see negotiation as a game,
yeah,
does there always have to be a winner and a loser?
Yeah, actually the game should have a loser and a winner. But for negotiation, like yeah, sometimes it's like a win-win situation. So it's very hard to say that who is the winner or who is the loser. So yeah, so what I mean is that some like to some extent we can consider this like a game, but it's not totally a game. So I kind of agree with what Kim said.
I couldn't quite hear what you were saying, Nick. It's hard to hear you.
Sorry, can you hear now?
Much better.
Yeah. So yeah, I am kind of agree with what Kim said about the game, that because like for negotiation, it's not like a way we can define who is the winner or who is the loser. So yeah,
Right.
it's normally happens like a win-win situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's part is different from the game.
Well, for those of you who are interested in this, it's really worth looking up game theory. It's a whole area of mathematics and logic. It's called game theory, and it is actually quite relevant. Not in the sense of winners and losers, but it's game theory tries to predict what will people do in a given situation. And there's something called the prisoner's dilemma. It's one of the most famous ones. And where they have two prisoners and they're asking one prisoner, what will the other prisoner say? And will the other, and you can look it up. It's called the prisoner's dilemma. And it is actually quite interesting, because it talks about how people will react in a given situation what outcome is the best possible outcome, where you can maximize the value. So game theory is all about maximizing value, and et cetera, et cetera. So it is actually a very fascinating area, and a friend of mine is an absolute expert in this. And it's where they do get computers. When they get computers to start doing the negotiation, and I'm hoping I can get him to do a demo for us. But so negotiation is very much like a game, but just the elements of it. It doesn't necessarily mean like it's not like a soccer game where there's a winner and a loser, or maybe a tie. It's how do people behave in order to optimize their value, And then how can two people work in such a way to have the best possible outcome given the circumstances? So yeah, game theory and the prisoner's dilemma. It might even be in your textbook.
Yeah, okay.
I can look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's almost 1 o'clock. Let's call it a day. Well, as I said, I think these classes will be shorter. I don't think we need to go the full, 3 hours or whatever it is, because we can do things quite quickly. So any final, I see a chat, just a minute, from Jane. Jane says, my takeaway in this course is to be like you who wins contracts through negotiation. Thanks for the input. Okay. One can employ strategies in a game when negotiating. Yes, you can. Become the best negotiator to a supplier. Okay. Also like to learn what to listen for from the other party. B said that. How to make a good deal. Yeah. I wish we knew that. How to make a good deal. Better open-ended questions. Okay, and I will. It's been 1 week. Oh, is Joel, is it your birthday? Joel James?
Yeah, it's his birthday.
It's his birthday. Okay, we're all going to sing happy birthday.
Happy birthday to
you. Happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday, Joel.
Happy birthday to you.
fourth birthday.
All right.
God bless you.
50th birthday, bro.
May God
34th, right?
bless you.
50th birthday. He turned 50 today.
Okay, we'll see you next week. And I did
Happy
record this.
birthday to you.
I did record this. I'll try to find out how to get the recording to you.
George.
Make it available for you. Okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you next week.